Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Adult AML Chapter event, brought to you by the HealthTree Community for AML and HealthTree Coach for AML program. My name is Rosalind Height, and I'm HealthTree's Director of Patient Community. I helped start HealthTree's Coach program for our multiple myeloma community and help run the AML coaching program with Mary, AML's Education and Community Manager. I'm excited to be here today to host this conversation with you with two members of our AML coach team. First, I'd like to thank our HealthTree sponsors who make events like this possible: Servier, Estella's, Bristol Myers Squibb, and AbbVie. The topic of our conversation today is the power of sharing your story and the HealthTree Coach program. Today's event is a little different from some of our other events you may be familiar with. Today, Steve Hodges, an AML patient and HealthTree coach, and Taye, Tessema, an AML patient that Steve coaches, are going to share their incredible story with us. We're grateful for all the work Steve does and for Taye's willingness to share his experience with us. First, I'd like to give both Steve and Taye a chance to introduce themselves. If you could share where you're from and any other parts of who you are that you'd like to share before we get into our AML and coaching stories. Steve, let's start with you.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So I am a HealthTree coach, as Roz said, and I am into music a lot. With that music, I address some patients on a wide basis in the Duke Health System, which is local to me as a patient family advocate. I'm a bone marrow transplant survivor, and I'm a end-of-life advocate, and a music and memory practitioner. And I try to apply these skills as much as I can, with patients who have blood cancer.
Wonderful. You do such great work and in so many different areas and places and touching people in different ways. I'm so inspired by you, Steve, and Taye. Share a little
Well,
about
thank you very much. Well, I am I'm married and a father of three, and the fourth one. I'm actually a father of four kids, and three of them are my biological kids, and one is adopted from back home from my country. And now I'm married for the last 39 years, and I was first diagnosed as a liver patient in the year 2006, and until the year 2017, I was under the supervision of my uncle, other liver doctors. But in the year 2018, I got a liver transplant. Then in the year 2020, I was diagnosed as acute myeloid leukemia patient. Until now, I'm just under the treatment of leukemia with my oncology, getting from my provider here in Georgia, Atlanta. Well, as to some of my contribution, I am trying, number one, I have a wide range of communication with the Ethiopian community here in Atlanta. And I was actually a director for this community for 2 years, volunteer service. And currently, with regard to my experience, I have tried to make a speech like in the Blood Cancer Society, like blood cancer, which is actually one of Alim-Sahai blood cancer. It is one of non-profitable organizations within the community itself, and it has a branch in Ethiopia. I went to Ethiopia to visit that branch and to inspire those patients as well. That's all.
Oh, I'm so impressed and taken back with everything that you've been through the last few years.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to learning more about both of you. Let's get into it. Steve, could you first tell us about the coach program and what made you decide you wanted to become involved as a coach?
Oh, sure. It starts with the pay it back concept, but at this point, it pay it forward, but I call it pay it back because I've gotten so much from HealthTree and some other places, Duke Health System. So I'm trying to pay it back. And after I had been through the chemo and the transplant process, my wife and I realized that it would have been so wonderful to have someone to talk to who had been through it, because you get these little slices of time from the doctors and so forth, but to just sit down and say, hey, you went through this. What was it like? And this thing that I'm going to go through, have you been through that? Yes. What's that like? And what's on your mind when you do it? So that's when I decided to join the Health Tree Coach program, because that's precisely what I'm able to do with people who sign up to get a coach. And I think across the board, they find it useful because they just usually text me or call me. Most text and say, hey, have you got a minute? And I say, yes, let's talk. And so they're worrying about something that they're going to be going through, because you just really can't absorb it all in the beginning at once. You just really cannot. Nobody can. So it's a time by time thing. So that's why I signed up to do it. I'm glad I did.
We're glad you did as well. And there really is such power in that sharing of the personal experience and being able to connect and share personally your experiences. It's powerful and so much more meaningful and so helpful. How do you normally get connected with the people you coach?
So they go into the HealthTree site or app. There's an app, and there is a section that says "Get a Coach," something like that. You click on it, and so if you're a first-time person going there, this is when you click there, and you can actually um, describe your primary interests, and it will recommend to you a potential coach or coaches. But you can also take a look at all of them and say, hey, this one has this background, because there's little bios on each of us in there. I think I like that person to be a coach for me. And I have actually a couple of coachees, we call them, who signed up with two of us. Uh, Somebody has a much different background than mine, as well as me. So
Yeah, so that dual perspective. Wonderful. Well, Taya, can you tell us about how you first got in contact with Steve?
Well, you know that being a survivor of two cancers, like liver cancer and blood cancer, is not an easy way. And I have gone through a lot, such as infection and other things, and I have been hospitalized very repeatedly. And I know that I have got my own caregivers, and my lovely wife and lovely kids are all around me. But
Mhm.
I was thinking that why not a person who has gone the same experience as I go? Why not I find someone? So it happens that I don't know how yeah. I go to this website, the same website that Steve mentioned, and I just put my information that I need someone, just to have someone to contact someone who has similar experience and similar type of disease as well. And here is Steve, Steve appears immediately. And since then, to be honest, I forgot everything, and I never feel alone. Whenever I call him, whenever I text him, even if I don't text, if and I don't talk to him, or I respond to him on the phone, he's the one who always finds me.
Mm.
And I just, found myself, well, come on, there are other people who can take care of me and who really show me the way how I can cope up with this disease. I know that we have two different experiences, and my experience is not the same as with Steve, but Steve has a very he's a knowledgeable person. He's very resourceful, and more than me, he knows everything. When during our even normal conversation, it didn't take us a long time to get to know each other. You know that. And beside that, I know his wife, and she talks to me, and she greets me. That shows me a sort of belongingness and a sort of, so that's it. And
Mm, I love that. Well, like you said, you have your caregivers, you have your family that was supporting you, but to seek out someone else who could relate personally to what you were going through really did make a difference. And
correct.
yeah, it's a different perspective, right? That's valuable, and
Absolutely,
it
man.
just complements the support that you already have
Yeah,
through those other
yeah.
loved ones.
I was feeling, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I
No,
was feeling that I'm alone with acute myeloid leukemia.
right.
And as Steve said earlier, now doctors cannot complete everything, they cannot. And so you have to find. I know I have lovely family, my kids, my wonderful wife is doing whatever she can, but still there are other things that she cannot. But Steve has already filled that gap for me.
Oh, I'm so happy and so happy to hear that. What were some of those first conversations like that you and Steve first had when you first connected?
Uh, uh, the question for me?
Yeah, yeah. What were, either one of you, you could both chime in. What were those first conversations like? Were they
For
informational, getting
me,
to know one another?
yeah, for me, you know that sometimes as human being, you have certain reservation and certain things that you keep in mind, like maybe this person, I don't know how far he could help me. A sort of question like that is in my mind. But I found him, he's a very easy going personality. I like, his conversation, the way he talks, the way he really appears to me is something different. Now I consider Steve as a person who always will live together in a single family house forever, like that. I don't hide him anything, and whenever I have some problems, also whenever I have some issues that going on, I always discuss with him. And so Steve, I found him very important. He is beyond my expectation, in fact.
Conversation.
When we first met, of course, Taye was looking at a second opinion, and actually I engaged the HealthTree team to
Yeah,
get somebody to talk to at Johns Hopkins. That was so
yeah.
wonderful. And then we moved on to some other things, and I think, and my wife has joined the HealthTree team. She hadn't when she introduced herself on one of our talks to Taye, and I've met briefly Taye's unbelievably talented daughter. His three, they're all so talented, and I also was introduced, and I'm fascinated by the ancient, very deep, very beautiful Ethiopian history and culture. Um, and it's just, I even have read now a history of Ethiopia, and I want to go deeper. Taye and I agreed that if once future, when we're both well, I want to go to Ethiopia with
Oh,
him and see all of this. And we might search for the Ark of the Covenant. I don't know,
Yeah,
because
of course.
it's rumored to be there. But such a deep and ancient culture. This is the kind of thing as a byproduct that happens when I engage coaching. Is I meet people who have these unbelievable backgrounds, richer, deeper than mine is Taya's. It's unbelievable the empire, and So it's just, we do that. We talk about the current thing at hand. So he's still evaluating where to get a transplant. So that's what we're currently talking about. But he's important to me. And
He's
so,
important to
Pat-
me.
yeah. So we have kind of
Mhm.
an unusual relationship. I would say not all coaching relationships go this deep or this far, but we just have a chemistry that is uplifting to both of us
Mhm.
and helpful to both of us.
I love this. You kind of taken us to the next question was, explaining that coaching relationship. And it sounds like really as you met and got to know each other, you quickly established this trusted relationship where you both felt comfortable opening up to one another and quickly created a friendship really and dove into what Taye needed with that second opinion and started providing resources and that just built on that foundation of trust and friendship that allowed you to continue to have that grow. And it sounds like it's really blossomed and really come from each of you showing interest in one another's lives and being open to that. And it's really beautiful what you explained and the relationship that you've created together. And I think you're right, Steve, that not every coaching relationship is like that. Each coaching relationship's different depending on the individuals and what they need and where they're at and personalities and different things like that. So it's really wonderful that that relationship can be what each of those people need at that time. How how were you communicating in the beginning or even now, was it on the phone or through email and how often? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Um, the first time I communicate with Steve is on the phone. In fact, he called me, and because he took my information from the web page, and he called me, and we get introduced to each other. And I think we did. It didn't take us a long way to have a FaceTime as well. And I was so, I mean, I can't really, I just immediately believe that he's an honest and gentleman. He's very resourceful and he's very kind to help others as well. And he is the one who can stretch a lot. And he told me he's really a good inspire to be a coach. He has a lot of qualities. Like he always gives his time. He has his own problem, but he doesn't focus on his problem, like the issue of medication and treatment. That's not easy. So he stretches himself too much, even to help others, like, playing music and coaching, like talking to me. It's not easy. And it's not. It takes a time. It takes, something. So, we didn't take much time to have communication at any level. Like the only thing what we have left is visiting each other. That's it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it sounds
We-
like you've talked on the phone, you
yeah,
texted together and you've emailed and
yes.
really just been open to all those
Text
different
is
ways.
every day. Yeah.
And FaceTime.
Oh, FaceTime.
And
FaceTime.
I have to
Yeah.
mention, Taye is a big walker, very, very, very fit, which is
Oh, okay.
wonderful because, and I am also a walker. So sometimes we're both walking. It doesn't always work out time wise, but we check with each other and we challenge each other every day. Have you walked?
I love it. Oh, I'm loving hearing about your incredible story and the foundation of friendship that you've built. Let's hear more, Taya, from you about your story. So, I mean, you mentioned treatment plans changing. You needed that right when you met Steve, but has your treatment changed since you started being coached by Steve? And if you want to go ahead and share, Steve, feel free to jump in where appropriate, and we'd like to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I was, I just, my treatment, especially my this is, and it relapsed twice or three times since the year 2000. 20, and especially in 22, I had a very critical time where even I was put in the breathing machine to that extent, and that was, well, I just survived suddenly, and now again, I came to remission in late January or February, like that. So when I get to remission, my doctor told me that I think you have to find an alternative treatment. Otherwise, well, this treatment that I'm going to give you is for a while, and your disease is so weird, and it might come back and again. So before that, you have to do something else. So this gave me an initial point, really, and to talk openly, Steve. So Steve also told me, and without any hesitant, he told me that he got a bone marrow transplant. Oh, come on. I didn't have any faintest idea what bone marrow transplant mean. And he just explained to me. I thought that I had a liver transplant. I thought that a bone marrow transplant is something like similar to a liver transplant, that doctors should open part of your body and put something else like that. But Steve is a wonderful man. He said, come on, if you are considered by your doctors with bone marrow transplant, it's simply like a transfusion, getting transfusion, blood transfusion. It's like that. And in fact, it has certain process, he told me. And he gave me such an energy and a positive. So I pushed. I went to John Hopkins because of him, and I consulted my doctor. And I went to, again, MD Anderson. And it happened that MD Anderson considered me for the bone marrow transplant, but still I have other issues like the finance issue, which me and Steve have discussed, and still it is on the process to find some, financial assistance like that.
Yeah, so, and actually the latest is because he found out from his insurance company that Duke is covered. Because the other two places, MD Anderson, Johns Hopkins, he gets 80% because they're out of network. And the 80% of this kind of thing is like $200,000 or $300,000. So he's still on the hunt, and he's going to get a referral with Duke, and they will see him, they told me. I just sent you an email this morning, Taye. So
Oh, wow.
Oh, really?
yeah,
Oh,
they'll see you.
Wow.
come on, man. You're always
Anyway,
an icebreaker.
this is Taye in a nutshell, which is he does not give up. And this self-advocacy is so wonderful as a coach. It lifts me up. So
Oh. Well, Taya, you explained so well those layers, how complex everything is with this disease and all those layers in there, from navigating
Yeah.
transplant to the financial, and just how complicated it quickly gets. And so again, how helpful it is to have someone else to talk to. And Steve, you've helped Taya advocate as well by finding resources, right? And so that partnership, it sounds like
Yeah.
it's been very powerful and helpful for both of you.
Yeah, that's why I said finding someone. It's not your only caregivers, it's not only your doctors work along with you all the time. It is just, they can help you, but that help is not a complete one. And so you have to find someone. Someone is Steve for me. And I always, pumps me an energy, that? He give me an impetus to do something, to find something. And this morning I was so busy even I thought that I could be late to cope up with this interview because I had to call the the patient advocacy with regard to this financial assistance.
And and now here you are. I have a question for you, Steve.
Mhm.
Where has your conversation mostly lived? I mean, obviously transplant and the financial, but do you feel like your conversation with Taye was more in those concrete aspects of care, more mental health, or have they been around more spiritual topics? What have you experienced?
Certainly the concrete aspects, because he presented with not knowing about second opinions and so forth. So it's been very significant that way. But I think also because the nature of our conversation is 100% uplifting every time, Taye pointed this out to me, and it is. He's such an inspirational person,
Mm,
moving from Ethiopia and raising three incredibly talented children, driving a taxi to do it. And he was a professor in Ethiopia. He's so inspiring, so inspiring. Um, that is both an uplifting thing from a psychological standpoint, but also we're both spiritual, and we
mhm,
have gone into that realm as well and talked about our beliefs of there's another plane beyond this one.
mhm.
Um, but that our job is to be here this day, and our time, the time that we give, is love uh, to people that matter. So we both agree on that, and so I would say all three aspects.
Right. And that
Yeah,
makes, have you seen the nature of your conversations change over time? Or maybe they've just deepened as you've gotten to know one another.
they deepened because neither of us really we took most of the boundaries down that might be a part of other relationships, and so we're very open and very spontaneous. Neither of us ever enters into so there may be a conversation about, okay, the next step is a referral and so forth. That's very concrete. But then the rest of it is whatever's on our mind.
Right. And that goes back to that relationship and friendship that you've created.
Yeah,
You both have a genuine interest in one another, and it's been a mutually beneficial relationship. Steve, you've been giving as a coach, but you've also been receiving.
I receive. I think that every single thing that I do as a volunteer in these things, that I get back more than I ever invest. It's just wonderful. Yeah.
Well, I would completely agree. In giving, we do receive, and I see that over and over again in the coach program, and it's so inspiring to me. And thank you both for being willing to share your story with me and with others. It truly is incredible, and you both are so inspiring. Taye, I'm curious, have you felt inclined at any point in your coaching journey with Steve to share your story or your legacy with him? And if so, what do you feel your legacy is? And what was that experience like sharing it with Steve?
I have no limit at all. Just sometimes I feel scared that I take much of his time. But to be honest, for me, I shared him. I guess I moved from Ethiopia with 6 family members, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, uh, living this nation, coming to this nation from other parts of the world is not an easy job, and raising kids is not an easy job. And all these things I think we have discussed, but and I have also tried to introduce one of my daughter. Did I?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, she's now a doctor engineer working for John Hopkins Research APL, that is Applied Physics Laboratory Research.
wow.
And and I have also her elder brother. He's a businessman. He moved back to Ethiopia after finishing school, I have the youngest one who graduated last week from Tufts University Electrical Engineering. And
Wow.
the other son, he is working now. And so, we are now me and my wife in the house.
Ah,
And well, uh, well, as any father and parent, and I try to really execute my responsibility. I left my own personal interest. Instead, I focus on my family
mhm,
and especially our kids. And my wife is a wonderful one, and she's always, beside me. We got married for the last 39 years, and we know each other from high school up to now.
mhm,
So, that we pray all the time, just, whenever such difficulties and hardships comes, we regularly pray at home and nothing else. We don't have any other resource. We don't have any other, but this is the country where you can find a lot of resources as long as you are working in a proper way and you are showing up.
mhm.
So I try to show up myself, and I even go to school even after after diagnosed acute leukemia. I go to school, but I quitted in the year 2022 when I was hospitalized for a long time. And I remember that I took one of the course uh, while I was taking chemo in the hospital.
Wow.
So I never quit,
Yeah.
and I always try to. What I feel is I just want to push myself, and I always tell Steve, that I did 5 miles today. I did this much.
Right.
I did my yard. I did this because I want Steve to have you know. Yeah, I know he's more experienced and capable of handling himself, but I'm trying to reflect whatever I do. Uh, I hope, and Steve will appreciate that, and I do appreciate him as well. That's it.
Right. Well, your perseverance, your hard work, your children, your family is indeed a legacy. And you've shared all of that with Steve.
Of course, and I
And
never hide anything, and I will
right.
not. And why should I? And that's it. And definitely, that's a kind of cure. That's a kind of,
Mhm.
getting yourself. If you hide something else, if you don't share, if you're not open-ended, you are lost somewhere.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, it's not money. It's not, I mean, your caregivers or relatives. What matters is your personality. So my personality always is to be genuine, open, and friendly. That's it. And
I
that's
feel
it. I know that I have a lot to do, but I didn't do anything like Steve is doing.
Oh, I feel that from both of you. I'd be curious and love to know from both of you how you feel you've been impacted or benefited from your coachee relationship.
Yeah, this particular uh, coachee, so my friend Taye, has built my confidence so much in facing the side effects that happen after a transplant. That's where I am. They just come out of nowhere and they land, and you have to deal with it.
Mhm.
And at this point, it's changed my approach because he is so on it. I mean, he rebounds with resilience that I just an astonishing thing. And so I've adopted the way I describe my new approach, which I basically learned from Taye, is I'm like a race car going around and around a track, NASCAR, maybe. And when something needs fixing, I go into the pit And the doctors and the teams, they're all very wonderful, and they get me all fixed up, whatever the issue is. And then I get back on the track and I accelerate to the max. I
Mm.
mash the pedal to the floor and get back in the race. So that's just it. And I've kind of learned that from Taye, which is the ability to flip from the patient kind of thing right back on it, you know.
Mhm. I love that. I love that you've both benefited, again, back to that, in giving you receive, and you've both experienced that. So Taya, what's next? Where are you now, and what's next in your treatment of AML? You kind of referenced
Um,
that a little bit, but
yes, I had an appointment. Let me start with the very recent appointment with my oncology doctor here in at Emory University. I had a meeting last Tuesday, and he initially asked me what I did with regard to MD Anderson or John Hopkins. And luckily, I had a week before, I had the last visit with MD Anderson doctor, stem cell transplant specialist, and his name is Dr. Bashir, actually, and with his two of other teams. And I had a very good uh, sign that is, at least that opens my hope with regard to my treatment,
Mhm.
because my doctor always insists to me, now if your disease, I'm afraid your disease, once it gets, used to this kind of treatment, it may relapse again.
Mm.
So the only way and the only chance you have is right now, either to try a clinical
Trial?
trial or other option of treatment. And that was one thing. I know that I have a positive, a green light with a clinical trial at John Hopkins. But furtherly, I pushed to other, because I heard about bone marrow from Steve. So
Mhm.
why not I do bone marrow? And if it is easier, I said, because he told me that it's it once you qualify for that, once you reach to that level, it's not opening your body. It's not some kind of surgical matter. It is an issue of, blood transfusion from your donors. That's what he told me. So having this in my mind, okay, why not I push it to bone marrow? And I went to MD Anderson and they told me, they gave me this chance. But the thing is, the financial issue is a great thing. And the doctors are very happy to accept, to admit me. And still, it is on pending because financial issue is there.
Mhm.
And that is, I talked to the financial advisor over there, and his name is Robert. He said, no, you're not in the network. And I know that you have Medicare and you have Medicaid and other things. The Medicaid is limited within the state, and the Medicare is again under Aetna Medical, Aetna Medic, Aetna Advantage Group, like that. So we're not in the Aetna, we're not in the same network, so you might not be able just to do. If you want, and they gave me one paper here, and around 300,000 you have to deposit upfront. That's what they told me.
Oh, wow.
So until this morning and before, even I just immediately called Steve. Before that, since 8 a.m., I was just calling the advocacy group and other, financial assistance group, and that's it.
Right. Well, and that's where Steve just shared, right? That he's been helping you with that and within those efforts, and you two as a team are
Yeah,
helping uncover and discover resources. And
yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm so glad, and even that treatment option for you to have been able to
yes,
talk to Steve about that and hear his experience, it was helpful for you to be able to determine that that's what you felt would be right for you moving forward.
yeah.
And
Yesterday, in fact, me and Steve were had a conversation on the phone with regard to the insurance cases and other things, and the thing that have tried, like calling the advocacy group and other things. And also, I just mentioned him. My insurance told me that Duke University is on in the network, and asked him, would you mind trying whom to contact, whether they can accept me or not, and and he, he just told me right now. We met right now, and that's a positive sign again. Look how we help each other, and he's a man. He's a man. To be honest, he's a man. I mean, wow.
he's the man. Steve, what do you see your role being moving forward in your coaching relationship with Taya?
Yeah. So he just mentioned one, and I think all of us coaches feel the same thing. We've knocked around enough to have some experiences, but we also have you. We have HealthTree, and what I'm talking about is options, is to help the coachee develop options. Options equals hope also. So it's a very good thing to do, but backed up by HealthTree and the whole network, there are always options. I may know of one or two on the top of my head, but I often consult you, as you know, and the team at HealthTree, and that's how we keep doing it. It's a responsibility that I think coaches have.
Mhm.
One of
Well,
the responsibilities, yeah, support, of course, options, listening, and just being there for them.
definitely. And it's that education that then can help you provide the support that's needed when it's needed, and knowing where to go for reliable information and all of those
Yeah.
things. It does. It starts with listening, because unless you listen and know what the actual need is, you aren't able to help in the way that it's needed at the time that it's needed. So all those things have come together. And it's been so incredible to hear you both describe that and how you created that and made that work and the impact that it has made. I'm blown away. I'm blown away by both of you, and can't thank you enough for sharing your not only inspiring but your heartwarming story with us today. I'm sure others will join me in being grateful for being able to learn from the two of you. You both have just are such an inspiration in so many ways. And I've learned so much from you today. And I just again am inspired by your story and your desire to get involved. If others of you feel inspired by Steve and Taya's story and you want to get involved, you can sign up to join our amazing team of AML coaches and to be able to help other patients through their experience of AML, as Steve has done. Or if you feel that you would benefit from having someone like Steve to talk to, I encourage you to sign up and get started with someone today, because as was said earlier, Taya said he felt alone, and we don't want anyone to feel alone, and no one should have to face AML alone. There are people available to talk to you and to help you. For
Mhm.
more information or to get signed up for the coach program, you can visit the link on the screen and go to our website and do that. I encourage all and any who have even any interest to go and to join us there and find that personalized support that really can make such a difference. I'd like to again thank both our community and our Coach for AML sponsors who've made this event possible: Servier, Estella's, Bristol Myers Squibb, and AbbVie. And finally, I want to say thank you to everyone in our incredible AML community. We have such incredible members. We value your presence and contributions to this community. Thank you for joining us. Another deep thank you to Steve and Taya. Thank you for sharing your story with us today. We're all leaving a little bit more inspired, empowered, and wanting to go out and to do good. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Rosario. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you.